Blessings, my beautiful star family. How are you all doing? My name is Rebecca, and this is my new moon report for Pillars of the Moon. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I'm very excited to be sharing with you my musings over the next lunar cycle. So, yeah, this is a really beautiful and I think transitional cycle that we have now. The new moon coming on the 15th will be on the cusp of Leo and Virgo. So a new moon on the cusp of Leo and Virgo in the life sky, which I use. It feels like, we are beginning this cycle in a transition. So, we're going to look into the life sky in a minute. We're going to look into the astrology charts that I've drawn up to really get an idea of the whole cycle and what the whole cycle will bring. So shortly after the new moon, or around the same time, Mercury will be going stationing to go direct. Hooray. And also, a few days after the new moon, the sun will be journeying into Virgo. So we're really starting, this cycle at the end of Leo, so it's actually conjunct Denebola, which is the tail of the lion, right at the end of the lion. So that in itself, has got its own teaching and wisdom that we can really draw upon this cycle. It didn't start in Virgo, it starts in the end of Leo. So there feels like a completion coming in this cycle, as well as we're coming, for us in the Northern Hemisphere, we are completing our summer, so our autumn equinox will also be happening during this cycle, which is the time of equal day and equal night. So after this cycle is complete, we will be in the Northern Hemisphere, we will be in our descent, coming down into the darker part of the year. And we may be feeling that dropping within ourselves now as we're seeing all the fruits dropping from the trees, and like there is the coolness in the air in the mornings. We can feel that shift that's happening inside of us as well as around us in nature. And those of you who are in the Southern Hemisphere, you will be starting to feel those first buds of spring and that lightness and that new beginning coming over the spring equinox. So, that as well, we can feel in the lead up to this equinox time, which will be on the 23rd this year. We can feel like there's like a balancing happening. So we can feel that there's a transition or a change. Some of us are coming into the darker part of the year, some of us are coming into the light part of the year. And there's just a transient energy that I feel around this whole cycle, and a balancing of like the ending of the summer, the culmination of the Leo solar sun energy, and coming into the harvest of the Virgo energy, and with Mercury going direct, he will be starting to move forwards, and he will move into his own stars of Virgo around the time of the full moon. So that's just 2 weeks away, and he will be at home. So Mercury has a lot to play in this cycle as well. So let's jump into the live sky, and I'll share with you just my overview that I have done here. So you should be able to see that now. So the new moon in Leo and Mercury direct, that's the 15th of the 9th at 02:39. These are all GMT time zones, so you can look up your own time zone at timeanddate.com. And then the first quarter moon is actually right at the galactic center, the golden gate of the gods. So that's on the 22nd of September at 8:30. So that's quite significant as well, because that's just around the time of our autumn equinox or our spring equinox, this time of balance. We're really activating the golden gate and connecting to the cosmic realms that the Sagittarian energy really helps us expand into. And obviously by this point the sun will be in Virgo as well. So we'll be feeling that shifting into the Virgo frequency or archetype. Yes, and then our full moon will be in Pisces, just as Mercury will be journeying into Virgo as well. And this full moon is going to be quite close to Neptune. And that'll be on the 29th of September. And then the last quarter moon will be at the Silver Gate over in Gemini. So that will be on the 6th of October. And then Pluto's going to go direct as well, thank goodness, on the 11th of October. So there's going to be quite a few shifts during this cycle, and that's, Pluto's been retrograde for quite some time now. So when he does, go direct at the end of this cycle, it's really leading us into the eclipse season, which is next cycle. Oh my goodness. So the solar eclipse in Virgo will be coming up after that. So the Plutonian energy will be moving forward around that time, and the eclipses that we have coming up, connected to the nodes. And at the moment, we've got our North Node is conjunct dwarf planet Eris of discord and chaos, and Chiron of our wounds. So, this eclipse season that's coming up could be quite intense, especially with Pluto just going direct just before the new moon. And so there's a lot of stuff that I feel like this cycle is really helping us to discern. Discern is a great word, I feel, and plan, make a plan. And we're going to jump into the charts to look a bit more about why I think that in a moment. But yes, so let's jump into the live sky just so we can see what's going on. So let's make sure we've got the time correct. 15th of the 9th. And what was the time of the new moon? 2:39 GMT. 2:39. So let's just change that. Okay. So you can see this is the constellation Virgo. She's huge. Look at her go, right? She takes up a big percent of the sky, right? So she takes 44, the sun takes 44 days roughly to journey through Virgo. So we quite often get two new moons in Virgo, or two cycles in Virgo as we come into this energy. And also, she has next to her Corvus, the raven. Mars is in Virgo at the moment, as you can see. But these red lines around the edges here, this is the constellation boundaries. And this is Leo. So Leo, the lion, you can see that we're right at the end here. And Mercury is going direct around the time of the new moon, also in Leo. Venus is now going direct, and she's at the head of this Hydra serpent and the constellation Cancer. That's a beautiful alignment for this new moon. So Venus coming out of her retrograde and aligning with the Hydra serpent head, it's like there could be a lot moving through us right now around our Kundalini, our wild feminine energy. Black moon Lilith has been really prominent as well the last few cycles, and she is this cycle, and there's this, it feels like with the Venusian energy coming out of her retrograde and moving, she's really close to the serpent's head here. Let's just click on Hydra. But the interesting thing about Hydra, the serpent, if I zoom out, you can see that Hydra comes all the way from the constellation Cancer, and it journeys all the way down to Spica, which is a Bohemian star in the constellation Virgo. So this serpent, I feel, is connected to Virgo. So at the base of the serpent, we have the priestess or high priestess Virgo, or some know her as Isis. As well, she has connections to the Egyptian goddess Isis, the Virgo energy. Also, you can connect Virgin Mary to Mary Magdalene. So I often see that the two lunar cycles that journey through Virgo are like the two faces of Mary, Mare, and that the two journeys that we get to experience, it's like we get to see the two versions of her, or the two archetypes which I feel that she embodies. Even like with the Isis energy, you have Isis, the queen of heaven, and then you have her twin sister Nephis, the queen of the underworld. So if we're thinking of it this way, we could see that the top end of Virgo, which is quite big, is connected to Isis and queen of heaven. And then the lower part, is Nephthys, the queen of the underworld. And actually, when we're looking at the Libra and Scorpio energy as being the gates into the underworld of the death and the endings of the old cycles, you can really see that the Virgo energy, which a lot of this cycle will be, is really, inviting us to experience and journey the priestess archetype within ourselves, and work with the Kundalini energy, the Hydra serpent, which is where Venus is right at the top, So it's like there is an invitation, I feel, from the Venus energy to really work with this Kundalini life force energy, which is very, very powerful energy to be working with. Yeah, is there anything else I wanted to say about that? I'm just going to have a little look around and see if anything jumps out that I wanted to share around the life sky. Whee, that did a little flip there. That was fun, wasn't it? Okay, so Jupiter and Uranus here, you can see they're both retrograde. This is the constellation Taurus. So Uranus was kind of flirting around the border of Taurus. Some people were saying, Uranus is in Taurus. I'm not sure if he actually ever crossed into the border, that's questionable, but he was flirting on the edge. Now he's going back into Aries Cetus constellation. This is Cetus the whale here. You can see Jupiter's really close to Menkar, which is a beautiful star at the head of the Cetus whale. So you can see it could be like the mouth of the whale, like Jupiter is really aligned to that right now. So there's an expansion happening around the voice of the primordial mother energy. This is the Cetus constellation, which I connect to the primordial mother energy. So Jupiter being here, it's like it's an invitation to expand and explore the voice within, the parts of ourselves that have been, judged or ridiculed or sent to the bottom of the ocean. There's a voice, there's a part of us here that we can explore and journey with and expand into that sound. It could be the sound of our grief or the sound of our anger or whatever it is, like I feel like this voice of the sea whale is really like being expanded at the moment with the Jupiter energy. And Jupiter retrograde as well, it's like going back into the stories of the past, of our lineage, of our ancestors, the stories that have been lost or forgotten. We could be seeing with this energy like an expansion into those old stories and those lost books, lost philosophy, lost spiritual traditions, so we could be finding that we are even going into the lost worlds. The Jupiter energy likes to explore worlds and cosmic realms, right? So Jupiter could be taking us into the depths of the Dark Mother, of Cetus the whale, to really journey with all of these lost parts of ourselves. So that being said, what is this cycle really about? Saturn is still aligned with Fomalhaut. Saturn is in the stars of Aquarius right now. So Saturn has a big part to play, and he's going to hopefully be quite helpful this cycle. So I'm going to jump into the chart to explain a little bit about why. Okay, so this is the chart for the new moon I've drawn up. Yeah, 15th of the 9th, 2:39. So here we go. I've already been squiggling on it for you. So we can see down here in Leo, right at the end of Leo, we've got the moon and the sun together, as they always are at the new moon. So yes, right at the end of constellation Leo, about to move into Virgo. I mean, this is a really beautiful time, you know, to be feeling that transition in us, the transition for wherever we are in the world, that there is a cusp happening here. So there's a change, you know, and we can be feeling a balancing happening between the light, all of the light and the things that we've harvested and gathered throughout the year, all the things that we've learned. And there's also the darker kind of things that we're letting go of, or maybe, you know, we're going to be composting or breaking down some things, you know, so we could be really exploring the light and the dark within us during this cycle, you know. And so I'm really like encouraging, like before this eclipse season, you know, begins, to really use this cycle to help us, because, you know, with the south node of the moon and the north node of the moon, this is where the eclipses are going to be happening. That's what always happens. That's why we get the eclipses. So we can look at Pluto, for example. Pluto is still T-squaring the nodes of the moon, which he has been for a long time now. And so he will be moving direct to go forwards at the end of this cycle, just in time for the eclipses on the nodes, you know, so that's significant. Any movements from Pluto is significant because he is so slow, right? But the thing that's really jumped out at me that I've really wanted to work for in myself as well this cycle is the Saturn energies in a grand trine. The grand trine with the South Node in Virgo and Ceres. Ceres is all about nurturing. It's about taking care, comfort, service, like the way that we mother ourselves and nurture each other. And it's in the grand trine with Vesta of the sacred fire, who's over in Taurus. You know, so this is like around being devoted to things. It's about our commitment, and also a lot to do with our spiritual values. You know, Taurus is very connected to the values and the values that we have, you know. So Vesta, the Vesta virgins, you know, they were devoted to their practice of keeping the fires of Rome alight, you know. So the Vesta energy is all about devotion, all the things that we're devoted to, what we value, how we're devoted to that, you know. So the energy of the South Node, it can be really quite a place that we feel very comfortable in, something that makes us feel safe and nurtured. And then with the Saturn energy, you know, the Saturn energy is in Aquarius, and he's going retrograde in Aquarius, you know, so Saturn loves to make a plan, you know, so we could be using this energy, you know, with the South Node to looking at structures or resources that have worked for us in the past, you know, and really looking at our values with Vesta. What is really important to me? What am I devoted to? And how can I use that devotion to help me to make a plan for the future? So Saturn going retrograde in Aquarius, you know, he could be really looking at like humanitarian issues. He could be looking at the community. He could be looking back at times in the past where we may have been in a certain you know, type of organization or structure that was really working, you know. So we could be reflecting on that this cycle with this grand trine, you know, to really be looking at the past and things that have worked and things that haven't, which works in really well with the sun moving into Virgo as well, you know, because Virgo loves to get organized and order things, you know. So we could be feeling that this cycle is a lot to do with restructuring and reforming things, so we can come more into balance, you know. So wherever we're going into the underworld of the winter or out into the spring, you know, we're finding that there could be a lot of moving energy this cycle to clear things up, clean out under the bed, sort out the cupboards. What do you need? What do you not need? You know, and doing the same in the garden and in your mind. And, you know, that could be really helpful, you know. So there is a grand fire trine, which is connected to the new moon in Leo. And that is making a trine with Uranus, who is in, like I said, in Aries, on that cusp of Aries and Taurus, who's also quite close to Jupiter. And that's coming down to meet with Pluto. It's Pluto again. Ha! So Pluto is Sagittarius, you know. So this is very fiery energy to start, but I feel like this fire is transformation. It's like burning away the old. Yes, let's make fires in our garden and burn away the old, you know, because there is a new cycle coming after this, and it's an eclipse season. And it's like, I feel like this cycle is really about finding stability and even leaning into the things of the past to find that security, you know. Because, you know, leaning into the North Node right now, who is conjunct Chiron, and also dwarf planet Eris, you know, she is next to Chiron as well. So she's not in my chart, but she is here with the North Node. So leaning into our collective destiny at the moment could feel quite challenging, to say the least. It may feel like we have to move into our North Node as a collective. We have to face our pain and our trauma and our wounds connected to Pisces, the age of Pisces, you know. And Eris, gorgeous Eris, she wants to throw her apple in there. And this is the symbology of the apple, you know. It's like, wow, oh my goodness, like this time of year in the north, we are harvesting our apples, you know. And the story of Eris, you know, she throws the golden apple into the room with all the other beautiful goddesses and said, who is the fairest of them all, you know. And so, and that story, you know, ripples out into other stories, you know, the story of Adam and Eve, and Eve ate the apple, you know, and that sent them on this journey of descent, you know. And that is connected to the journey of Venus, Inanna, Ishtar, you know, and also blooming Snow White, for God's sake. You know, she had the apple given to her by the evil witch, which made her fall asleep, you know. So the story and the symbology of the apple is really prominent at this time, you know, as well, because Eris and her position with the North Node, you know. So we may be feeling like, wow, let's really tuning into the apple and the story of that, you know. And actually, in this time of transitions and change, we could be looking at all of that moldy stuff that's eating away at our apple, all of that body that's being broken down, and then finding the seeds within, you know. And that's the seeds that are yet to be planted. That's all the new trees yet to come, you know. So this is the energy of the apple. It symbolizes the death of the old, and also the nourishment of the flesh of the apple, you know, in the way that it nourishes us to eat the apple. And then inside, you know, we get to that core. The core is where the seeds are, and the seeds is the child inside, you know, or the idea or the vision that's yet to come. And some people say, you know, that Merlin used to have his very own orchard and that he could call on at any time, Merlin the wizard. Saturn at Farmelheart in Aquarius reminds me of Merlin the wizard. The apples contain the prophecy of all that is yet to come. because the seeds are inside. So it's like the seeds are inside the apple and it's all brewing inside. But before we can get to it, before we can get to that new life, we have to break down the old. So the energy of Uranus and Pluto with this new moon and the fiery Leo energy, it's like burning away the old, like really burning away all of these old cycles, and Saturn can have us working hard, to looking at the past, looking at things that have worked for us, So it's really a lot to do with like this energy of, like, I feel like the Pluto, Uranus and new moon energy is like, it's really fiery. It's really, it could feel really kind of erratic, sudden moves, like, but it's also powerful. The Pluto energy could feel quite dominating. It could feel like there's this need to just break out. And using this energy of the fire trine to activate our Kundalini. I was talking before about that, about Venus. So it's like, yeah, like Venus over here is in Cancer. She's with Juno, and she's in trine to all of this North Node, So actually, it feels like the energy of the fire is the life force, it's the Kundalini. So we are awakening that fire and we're burning away all that we no longer need. And in doing that, it's going to take us to this place of healing. And it's going to take us to the apple, Eris, the apple of immortality, and the tree of knowledge, tree of life, tree of wisdom, so it could be a lot about discerning, this cycle, discerning what needs to go and what can stay. And that is very much the time of the harvest as well for us in the north. But even if you're in your spring, we've all heard the phrase spring cleaning, right? And there's a need when there's any kind of change or transition to move the energy. We need to clean. We need to clean the space. We need to clean ourselves. We need to have this kind of like cleansing, which is very restructuring, and then we can reorganize things so that the energy moves more fluidly and more better. So yeah. So it's getting dark here. I haven't got the light on, so I'm just gonna I'm not gonna go into the rest of the charts for today, and I will try to come back at the new moon, at the full moon, sorry. Yeah, just quickly peeking at the moon on the first quarter at 2 degrees of Sagittarius. That is the golden gate of the gods, and that is around the time of our equinox. So that's really, really prominent. And you can see there is, oh wow, look, there is a grand cross aspect going on here with Neptune, Vesta again, all that devotion and all those dreams of Neptune. And then Black Moon Lilith is involved with the sun and Pallas Athena too. So this energy, there can be a lot of tension, I feel, building around this equinox energy, around our dreams, around our devotion, and breaking out of maybe some of our fears around moving into that place. If we want to be living these dreams, creating these dreams that we are so in value to, devoted to, and expand and explore, our full potential. Black Moon Lilith and the sun, it's like having the courage to express that, having the courage to become that. It might take a lot of courage to really move into that creative expression of who we really are, right? So yeah, I'm going to stop sharing the screen, although I'm not sure if you'll see me once I stop sharing the screen because it's got so dark in here now. But let's see. Oh, you can still see me. Right. Yeah. So I'm hoping that some of that is helpful for you all. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. And I look forward to seeing you at the full moon. Equinox blessings for the next few weeks. And yeah, please subscribe and share if you love this. Yeah, very grateful for you all. Happy new moon, my darlings.